Aloha. You're watching Cradlepoint, part of Ericom Weekly Threat Intelligence Hot Shots. This is episode 6 for February. I almost said February. May 31st, 2024. I somehow got stuck in February, Alex, even though it's the end of May and we're hitting summer tomorrow pretty much. How's it going with you on this fine May 31st?
Yep, it's doing great. Nice and sunny here in Oregon, so it's going to be summertime.
Excited about episode 6?
Yeah, we got a good one.
All right, let's get to it then. Our weekly hot shots presented by the Cradlepoint Threat Research and Analysis Team. I can't remember if I actually introduced you, Alex. She's our senior threat intelligence analyst. Take it away.
All right, very good. So there has been a theme in the past 3 months, now going into 5 months, about the attacks on water utilities. Now, Microsoft in this report does say OT environments, but within the report that they published just yesterday, they talk specifically about water utilities. And so we're really going to address the threat actors that we've seen targeting water utilities, local government, local utilities that typically don't have as many cybersecurity controls as other businesses. So Microsoft is reporting on the profile of the devices that are being targeted by these threat actors. And that's going to be your PLC and HMI devices. And those are just either programmatic or human interfaces that control the operating system, sort of the operating system of these OT devices. Now, most of these devices are internet accessible. They have weak passwords and they have known vulnerabilities. And this is all something that we've known about OT devices. So really, the conversation is not about what is the target. We really know a lot about the target and the types of techniques that they're using. And we also know a lot about the threat actors that are targeting these water utilities. And so that's primarily Chinese and Russian state-sponsored actors. The top 2 that we're seeing is Fancy Bear out of Russia and then Vanguard Panda out of China. And if you look at the techniques that are most common to these 2 threat actors, it's credential-phishing campaigns. So make sure that you have some sort of isolation with your browsers so that your folks can't put their credentials into these credential harvesting websites. And then we're also seeing data exfiltration. And the data exfiltration is not encrypted. It's over over protocols such as FTP, which are unencrypted. So make sure that you have your keyword detections in your network IDS, IPS type things so that you can detect this kind of data being exfiltrated in clear text. And then the next one.
For stage actors, you have to have the triple threat, the actor, singer, dancer. Now, for these devices, they got the triple threat for the bad actors, the internet, bad passwords, and known vulnerabilities. I just had to toss that in.
Nice. Okay, so when I say that something is an increasing threat, I just wanted to show a visual to see what we really mean by that. Now, you can see that Q4 of 2023 was really bad, right? Wow. So we see some activity in 2023, and that's when we start seeing the advisories coming from the FBI and CISA and these joint advisories, right? So that's sort of our early warning system going, hey, and then it's kind of quiet, and then bam, Q4 was off the charts. And that's where we really see the government entities, really putting out the advisories, the information, really trying to raise the red flag for us. And so, we're coming into Q2, and we expect that these trends will continue based on what we're seeing from Microsoft and based off of the fact that we're continuing to see advisories come from our government entities warning about this. So these are the ways that we can tell that this threat really is increasing.
So do you think those ones, the early ones in 2023, now that, you know, they kind of warned us along the way, were more reconnaissance type, or kind of seeing what they might be able to get away with, and then, you know, hit hard in Q4?
The visual certainly does lead to that conclusion, right? So that could definitely be a possible conclusion, because yeah, the activity in Q4 was really strong. And I think that we're going to see that continue in that type of trend. It's heating up, and I don't think it's going to stop.
Yeah. And it's not just, you know, water utilities. It's pretty much all the various utilities out there.
Right. And I wanted to talk about timeline. Now, we've mentioned this in one of our previous hotshots, and it was talking about the timeline and why it's becoming more urgent. And maybe, as you say, Peter, we're beginning to see threat actors testing the system, see what they can get away with, is that in 2027, right, China definitely wants to distract the American people with difficulties in our homeland, so that we're not paying attention to geopolitics and perhaps what China is trying to do as far as increasing its presence in the South China Sea, and, you know, definitely tense relationships with Taiwan. So between 2027 and 2030, we should begin to see these types of attacks definitely begin to come to fruition, because like with Fancy Bear, they are doing data espionage, but it's also very quiet. They're using living off the land techniques to not be detected, because their true aim is that in 2027, they will then use the compromises that they have built today to actually disrupt service.
Wow. They playing the long game, eh? Don't burn off any 0 days today. We're going to hold those in our pocket for the next couple of years.
Indeed. Yes, that's absolutely correct. And China has in the past played the long game. So this really is in keeping with their style.
Yeah.
So that's how we can kind of predict what's going to happen coming up, right, in the next 3 years. So there you go. So I wanted to talk about the living off the land techniques, because those advisories that were published by the Joint Advisory, FBI, CISA, those kinds of agencies, was talking very much about the living off the land techniques. So we want to reiterate, what does that mean? And I was doing some additional research this week and looking at PowerShell commands. PowerShell is by default sent in the clear, right? So not encrypted. Now you can configure it to be encrypted. And if you use a tool like WinRM, that is going to encrypt it. But by default, those command shell, PowerShell commands, if you're using PowerShell, go in the clear. So it really is worth detecting and looking at those PowerShell commands that would go over in the clear. You've also got PSExec, which is a very handy tool that threat actors use in lateral movement. And again, it's sent in the clear. And then we're also seeing, like I said, a lot of data exfiltration over unencrypted channels like FTP. So we really do have opportunities to do detections without having to have, say, an SSL, break in the communications and things like that. So I would definitely urge folks to take advantage of what we have. You don't need a new fancy tool. Just do some basic detections on keywords, and you'll be surprised at what you find.
Yeah, nice. And just another, I would say, reminder to be aware of your surroundings, make sure everything's locked down, make sure isolation, whether it's, just traditional, having your OT at least 30 feet away from your IT installations, or actually using, Cradlepoint technology, the isolation technology, to have it out in a isolated cloud container, just to protect against any of that other infiltration.
Fantastic. Just to say, one of the first steps in this compromise is that they're internet available, these OT devices. Right. And typically that's because you want to have a service provider or a contractor to be able to access these devices for configuration, monitoring, and maintenance. And so you can do that using a zero trust architecture, right? Where when the person comes in, they're pre-authenticated before they get access to those devices. It's not a VPN, because we're seeing VPNs really hit hard as far as initial compromise. So it's not a VPN. And then once they come in, their access is restricted based on their identity. So really, that's the solution to why is it on the internet? Find another way to get your contractors in that is more secure and identity-based.
Yeah, right. The untrusted third-party access. And for sure, yeah, isolate those systems and no one else can gain access to it. Always fascinating. I love getting these weekly updates from you and the threat intelligence team. Hopefully our audience enjoys it too. This is stuff you can take action on today, next week, or at least keep an eye out if you have systems that there are a lot of these systems out there. So keep an eye on your own. Thanks a lot, Alex. As always, as we close out May, even though 11 minutes ago, I thought it might have been February. Always appreciate you folks watching us. If you like this type of content, of course, you can hit that subscribe button, the like, share it with your folks. If you'd like to learn anything about our solutions, obviously you can visit cradlepoint.com. And in fact, I want to bring up that they do have a new special section off the cradlepoint.com website that zeroes right into the threat intelligence reports and the great content that Alex and team puts out. And with that, for my good pal, Alex, love seeing you every week. I'm Peter, and we're with Cradlepoint, part of Ericsson. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everyone.